How's it going, ladies and Bruces? I'm Bobby Sixkilla. Welcome back to the Divine Deception. As of the last episode, we have 4 out of the 7 storylines complete. Val's storyline is now complete. We are moving back into the locks for now until we get locked off. Anyway, let's get into Act 4, shall we? Martingale. Like a nightingale named Martin. I double-checked the address. Yep, this is definitely the place. Okay. I mean, fair enough. Not like I was living it up lavishly. Still, this place? Really? I guess it didn't feel particularly gubernatorial? What the fuck does gubernatorial mean? I think that's the word for governor-related things. I'm like 80% sure. I mean, considering Buck's current financial state, I really shouldn't be surprised. Frankly, if he was lounging in a pretty nice place, I'd be a little miffed. But here? It looked honestly unsafe, and in Panthea, that was saying something. Still no better place than to meet than Buck's apartment. Meeting at Nahoy's Nest was off limit for some time. Whoops. Look, I had to pull the ripcord somehow. They'd be back on their feet soon enough. Probably. No, not probably, definitely. They'd definitely be fine. But for now, they were laying low and rebuilding after the whole police raid false murder scare. Really, for my purpose, it didn't super matter. Not like meeting in an underground casino was a great idea for political election campaign meeting. I checked my invitation watch. I'm on time right now. Probably better to still wait a minute or two. I stretched out my arms and started leaning against one of the brick walls in the alleyway, right next to the building. Aimlessly, my eyes wandered up, looking at the graffiti and fire escapes all over the place. This scenery, it was familiar. What was I doing thinking about this? This wasn't a good period of my life. No happy memories here. But I guess it was pretty goddamn formative. They say that the points when you're close to death are the points where you decide how you're gonna live. In my case, that was pretty literal. Living on the streets was rough. I didn't have a resume to help with the job. I didn't have half a shot at getting any sort of higher education in my position. I didn't have the first clue of how to fend for myself. I just lived off the generosity of strangers. And I learned pretty quickly that there really wasn't a lot of that to spread around. It was a cutthroat world. If you wanted to get anything, you had to earn it. In game theory, the term zero-sum game means a system where any gains inevitably come at the cost of somebody else's. It's overly simplistic to consider life a zero-sum game. That's the sort of thinking that leads to the dumbest policies or lifestyles. Plenty of things in life simply make life better for everyone. Now, it could be grand scientific policies achieved through working together, or shared positive emotions through humour or stories. But there was a darker side to that as well. It also meant that there were times when people's losses were smaller than the gains others could receive through those. Anyone who claims money's value is a constant is a fucking moron. A $100 bill in the hands of a poor man is worth dozens more than the same bill in the hands of a rich man. It's all relative. To maximize total global happiness, the trick was to make sure that resources were in the hands of those who would appreciate them the most. To survive, I started needing to make some real money. My mind went straight up theft or pickpocketing, but I couldn't stomach that. Just too high risk. A little too mean-spirited. And it's not like I had any actual talents that could be marketed on the streets. I wasn't a dancer, a musician, artist, anything of the sort. Wow. I'd always been a bit sharper than the next kid. Why not take advantage of that? I started out performing from the bottom of the barrel, 3-card Monty. It took a bit to get over my more justice-based objections. Luckily, hunger pangs do a lot towards squashing moral arguments. The 3-card Monty racket I started wasn't particularly refined or profitable, but it got its job done. I started making a bit of cash, and I used that to invest in myself, of course. Started researching more scam methods throughout history. Human psychology. Bought props. Started coming up with more original routines. More elaborate ways to get money from any given passerby. I didn't really feel bad for anyone. If you're putting money down on a street side bet, you're pretty much just giving to charity in reality. All the while, I was learning about more types of cheats, refining my sleight of hand, working on a con man's vocabulary. Eventually, I had enough funds to move up in the world to the next step. Underground gambling. Right in the circles I did long enough, and you learn where to find them. I've been saving capital from my scams, and eventually, I had decent enough seed money. I still remembered the absolute terror with which I first entered the casino. If things went wrong, I blew my starting amount. I'd be real fucked. But things didn't go wrong. I studied enough. I practiced enough. Like I always thought, I was sharper than most guys in any given room. And I knew how to put money to better use than any other drunken bum throwing their salary down on roulette. People refer to gambling as a luck-based skill, but it's not really. Surely luck-based skill is a paradox. If it's luck-based, it's not a skill. Not when you're willing to cheat. Then it's a mix of luck, intelligence, and performance. I made money, then more money, and more money after that. The fun thing about gambling is you can really start to compound your winnings if you want. Of course, winning so much in the same place at the same time was too suspicious. I knew to play the long game. I switched between a few casinos in the city, got into the habit of wearing different disguises whenever I went to the same place twice. Coming up with disguises was actually quite fun. Got me in the habit of character work early on. But it couldn't hold forever. Eventually all this shit would catch up to me. That whole scene got wise to my game. The night they decided to make their move, I'd not been particularly on edge. I would have likely been capped there and then. But once again I was smarter than the next guy, and I was able to get out alive. At this point, I knew when to cash out. I took all my winnings and hightailed it out of there. Went right to Aurea. It was close by, felt like a good place to stretch my wings. Using my winnings, I got a cheap-ass apartment and began planning my next move. Small-time scams were kind of risky, and it didn't really pay off in major ways. How long could I survive just going after little fish after little fish? And were some upper-class dudes really the best target? If I was going to live riskier, why not go bigger? I spent time getting to know Aurea better. You see, a city always has two sides. The national side, the one outside the people of the city think of, that visitors see. And the real side, the hard facts and knowledge the locals knew. It was the real side I needed to take advantage of. I spent time fishing around Aurea, looking for ways to get my main target. And eventually, I found an inn. I planned carefully and put it all into the job. All my savings were spent making sure things went off without a hitch. I put my disguising talents to good use, playing multiple characters to set things up just the way I wanted. And finally, I struck. Operation Drachma. With perfect precision, I carried out a completely bloodless heist of Aurea's central bank. It was a combination of confusion, misdirection, my well-crafted lies that got multiple trusted individuals to start dancing to my pace. In the end, it was the bank managers themselves that loaded an empty unmarked car right next to the bank with the cash himself. And then, when he went back in to grab the last bag, I simply entered the car and made off with in my well-prepared escape route. With several carefully crafted red herrings to throw people off the scent and a scheme to quickly exchange the dirty money with clean bills, I was able to make a completely clean getaway. The heist was a real talk of the town. People still talk about it. They called me the Auto Larcenist. Dumb title, but it's still cool to know that I had a title. With the payout from that job, I finally had real money to my name. I'd made it. I was so impressed with myself, so proud of how far I'd come. You know, I was so excited that I even ended up telling all this to an old friend from way back when. Went out of my way to get into contact with them too. And instead of the excitement I was expecting, I was met with nothing more than disappointment. I think that'd be the right word for it. A look of, what have you become? Seriously? Seriously. Oh, I'm sorry that I carried out a bloodless, victimless crime. The bank was insured. The people who used the bank didn't lose out. The bank didn't lose out. The only people who lost out were so abstracted and so high up that a loss like this was a minor inconvenience. To me, this was life-changing money. Was I really supposed to feel, what, bad? Guilty? Fuck that. People have narrow views of morality because of what society reinforces. And it makes sense society would reinforce those narrow views. If everyone saw things straight, there'd be a lot more auto-larcenists. But break out of the narrowly conditioned box and you get a much better view of things. A thief really isn't that amoral. Or at the very least, it's not significantly less moral than any number of jobs that are perfectly legal as things stand. The only real distinction is that getting taxes from a thief's a lot harder. Now, I slept in my auto-larcenist laurels quite nicely, but it really wasn't that big of a score, all things considered. I mean, when you factored in all the costs, and then how much I lost when taking measures to throw people off the scent, it was a lot, don't get me wrong, but not enough to just live off indefinitely. But Panthea had untold riches. If things went well, I wouldn't have to work another day of my life when I was through with this city. So then, time to make my way up. I entered the apartment complex and quickly began climbing the stairs, and made my way to the number I was given. Pretty high up, all things considered. Though not the top floor or anything like that. Took a bit to find the right door. Damn numbering system made fuck all sense. Eventually though, I found Buck's apartment. I knocked on the door, and seconds later I was greeted with a familiar face. Oh, Locke! You're here! For a second there I thought something bad happened or something. Yeah, sorry about that, got mixed up on my way here. Hope I didn't keep you waiting that long. No, of course not. Anyways, you're here. Make yourself at home. Thank you, my dear friend, I think I'll do just that. I walked into Buck's apartment. It wasn't particularly spacious. Right next to the apartment door I saw a set of doors that I imagined to be the closet. Walking further in, there was a bit of a main area. Bed to the side, window out to the alley on the wall, table in the middle of the room. Over to the left I spotted another door. Probably went to the bathroom if I had to guess. Man, what was with my obsession with mapping out every goddamn room I entered in such detail? I mean, in theory it could be useful at some points, but I highly doubted I'd ever need to be familiar with the layout of Buck's apartment of all places. I guess it just meant to show my general paranoia. Not the worst trait in this line of work. So how you been holding up, Buck? How's life been treating you? It's been, you know, alcohol prices keep dropping, so that's nice. Pro tip, Buck. That's not a good answer when someone asks you how your life's been going. I don't know if that's true. It lets you fill in the blanks, though. Yeah, blanks don't need filling in. I'm just being honest. You're a politician now, Buck. Honest is the last thing you need to be. Well, that isn't exactly an anecdote I'd given if I was on the campaign trail. Every citizen of Panthea is a potential voter. Well, forgive me if I'm arrogant for thinking that I have your vote fairly locked in. You don't know me. I'm undecided. Surely you jest. Note number 2, don't use words like jest. They make you sound elitist and douchey. What? Why? Because the elites use words like jest. Duh. It's a weird jest though. And I'm sure as shit not elite. It's perception, Buck. It's all perception. I can't imagine this is the most productive use of our time. Right you are. Should we just get down to brass tacks? The sooner the better. You're making me think you don't like hanging out with me, Buck. You wound me. Truly you wound me. Now he's talking like a jackass. Fair enough. To business we go. I settled down in my chair. I wasn't exactly eager to get to the first point of business, but it had to be done. So, about our first major funding attempt. Yeah, about that. No way around things. I screwed the pooch. Didn't pan out. In my defense, how exactly the fuck was I supposed to plan around Odin coming to chew out Polly the same night I tried to spring this shit on him? Fucking horrible coincidence, that. But sometimes that's how the die roll. Sometimes you roll a 1. You just kinda have to move forward the best you can. Honestly, at this point, I should just packed up and left. But I still had it out with Odin. And I bungled that as well. Crazy old bastard was a bit more perceptive than I gave him credit for. Buck looked down. Was it my fault? What? No. No, you did just right. Okay, good. You know, I was really worried when that alarm went off. Because, you know, you said it was sort of a last resort you weren't expecting to have to use. Well, I didn't expect it. But that's why you always create at least 3 escape plans. And you came free. Granted, a simple, hey, I saw a guy got killed, here's the location, would have done. But you know, you got the job done. That's all I can ask of you. Buck sighed out a little bit, and clearly was still minding his presence around me. Didn't want to get on my bad side. That's a little sad. No, the blame's on me. That doesn't seem fair. I mean, like you said, you were screwed by random chance. Who would think Odin Dysma would show up at a place like Nahoy's Nest? I sure wouldn't. But if I won his game... Wasn't it like a custom game he designed? You can't really be expected to win something like that on your first try. I mean, you saw what happened with me. You tricked me into that blackjack battle game, screwed me over. It's the same thing. No, it's not. Because if I were in your shoes, I sure as hell wouldn't have fallen for a stupid trick like Battle Blackjack. Because unlike Battle Blackjack, Aligned Stars was a fair game. Odin gave me an out. Several even. But I failed to grasp a single one of them. The words he left me with rung in the back of my head. I suspect that you wish to dominate the entire city of Panthea. That is the air of ambition you give off. Right now your ambitions overshadow your talents. You don't have it in you to face down Panthea. If the best you can manage is to flee from me. It was the crazy mutterings of a near senile old fool. And yet, I couldn't help but feel that in some way he was right. He's not an idiot, he's just evil. Odin's very clever. He's a fuckwit, but he's very clever. I don't think he's even remotely near senile. That the sharpness that had carried me so far now wasn't enough. That is far from the smartest person in this city. Ah well, I could have been killed and I managed to avoid that, so that's a glass half full. You fucking what? Oh, did I not mention that? Yeah, some crazy dude tried to shoot me when I was leaving the casino. Some sort of assassination attempt. You're kidding. Why didn't you tell me this before now? You didn't ask. That's... I'm glad you find this a funny situation. You gotta laugh, Buck, because it's that or crying. Well, what happened? What happened is that Lady Luck was paying me back for the Odin shitstorm she sent my way earlier that night. Luck, in my typical paranoia. Turns out checking your 6 in the reflection of windows actually can help out every now and then. Had I not seen that, I shuddered. Anyways, after catching sight of the creep, I put some distance on him. I may not be a fighter, but damned if I'm not a good sprinter. You outran the assassin? Sorta. But damn, I had to throw away a perfectly good suitcase and a ton of nice counterfeit bills trying to rid myself of that psycho. Oh. Yeah, I chucked it down the sewers to try and get him off my tail. Worst part, I'm pretty sure he didn't even go for it. Well, I guess that's some dedication. Where do you find a killer that focused, huh? You find one that doesn't care about money. Bet that dude pays top dollar. Although maybe not if it's a schlock like me who was able to dodge death's noose by just running away. Do you know who did this to you? Did you get a good look? I mean, no, not really. Got a decent glance at his general build, and heard him shout out, so I kinda got his voice down. But it was dark, he was obscuring his face. I was kinda busy trying not to get shot in the back. Yeah, no, I doubt I could put him out of a lineup. Damn. Are assassins a usual thing in your, line of work? Nope, I have to say, this is my first, mon frere. Kinda feels nice. Finally worth trying to be killed. Gives you a sense of value, you know? Buck stays silent for a moment, a forlorn look on his face. Clearly he was thinking of something. Was he worried about his own safety? I'm sorry. Guess not. Oh? I'm really sorry. I mean, it's because of me, right? Because of all this? That's why they tried to kill you? Doesn't somebody have a high opinion of himself? Huh? The assassin could have come for any number of reasons. I'm just... Even if the assassination wasn't because of this, if you really are going to try and get me elected, you're going to run into trouble. Trust me, it's going to be dangerous. You really should... Oh, Bark. You're really still trying to weasel your way out of this, huh? Huh? Scaring me with a bunch of spooky stories, as if Governor I's just so worried about a low-life campaign manager that she's going to start making my life hell. No, you're going to win this election, pal of mine, and you're going to do it with the help of yours truly. Okay. And on that front, let's move to the next point of discussion. I slap my hand on the table for effect. The election looms ever closer and we need to fortify our position every way possible. Our main financing operation might have been a bust. Fine. Okay. Campaigns run into snags all the time. We'll circle back to that soon enough. But it's not like that's all I've been doing. It isn't? No. I've been very busy, Bark. Not really having a job means that I have a lot of time to help your campaign in a number of different ways. I know we need to make big swings at Asia if we really want to win the election, but big swings only work if there's groundwork and a follow-through. You need to have a solid push for your governorship already going before you bring out the big guns. Okay, that makes sense to me. What does that mean in practical terms, though? Glad you asked. Elections are wars. You rally your troops, secure weaponry, and charge into several battlefields all across the city. A skilled general, like a skilled gambler, has many outs. But if you're the general, who am I in this scenario? Why, the president, of course. I answered you, after all. I'm already the president? Right. You don't think that's a little confusing, considering that in reality this is an election? Feels like we're mixing language at this point. Yeah, well, you know, I didn't actually think through the metaphor in much detail. I don't think you're actually going to go into the nitty-gritty. But you answer with such confidence. Yeah, Bark, that's what I do. I spout bullshit with confidence. I thought you knew by now. Now, can I make my point? Sure. Sorry. Good. So right, I'm the general of your campaign, and right now I'm launching a three-pronged offensive. The first branch is the simplest, the frontal assault. This is your standard stuff, community outreach. You've already identified your niche, man of the people. You just need to lean into that more. A lot of the communities in Panthea are very tight-knit, which is why I've been going around spreading your praise on foot. You have? Yep. You don't think word-of-mouth campaigning's a little small-scale? I'm fucking shocked that you have the gall to actually say that aloud with your own mouth. But also, yes, going to every single person in Panthea is a waste of time and also impossible. The visits have been to key community leaders, and the talks more in depth. The hope is I'm spreading the gospel to those who can spread it further. But of course, just me talking ain't really going to do shit. I hope your schedule's clear because I've signed you up for a bunch of events in the coming weeks. Seriously? You're just telling me this now? Exactly, I'm telling you this now so you can prepare. Trust me, this is the perfect way to get the ball rolling. You need to be seen in person by as many people as possible, not even necessarily in a political sense. So these events aren't speeches. You've been doing enough speeches. You know who comes to your speeches? People interested in your politics. We need to reach out to the people who aren't interested in your politics. I guess. But I don't think just being around is going to get people to vote for me. You underestimate how stupidly people choose to vote. But you're right, just being seen isn't enough on its own. What it represents is visibility. Like I said, to win, we're going to need to take larger swings. For them to land, you need a large foundation of visibility. Which leads us to the second prong of my offensive. Aerial support. Aerial support? How does that work? Again, sort of coming up with the metaphor on the fly. Not a one-to-one translation. I'm talking about your internet presence. Ah, yeah, I know about that. I got a Pyram account that I've been managing, a site that accepts donations. I know, I love it. One issue, it's all kind of garbage. Seriously? Hey, don't worry. Aisha's internet presence sucks shit as well. Sucks shit seems harsh. Okay, maybe that's a bit of an overstatement. But the point is, neither of you are properly harnessing the internet. This is actually a front Aisha's vulnerable on. When she first campaigned, the internet was barely a thing to consider. She hasn't properly adapted with the times, which gives you an opening. Fact of the matter is, young people love the internet. They're big fans. Young people are also way more open to change, to shaking up the status quo. They don't give a shit about Aisha having been governor for as long as she has. For all they're concerned, that's a negative. Really, young people are, as they should be, your core demographic. Hence, aerial support. I've been whipping up a bit of an internet brigade on your behalf. I mean, some people already knew about you before, but it was hardly a movement. But I've been spreading my influence, posting a bit on Pyram, a bit on Kamapa, just generally stirring the masses into a more codified block. It took some doing, alts and bots and the like, but once the ball started rolling, it just kind of managed itself. Huh? You know, I have seen more online donations recently. And now that I think about it, more people seem to be interacting with my Pyram updates. See? Aerial support already in effect. Huh. Well, to be honest, I feel like some of what you talked about has gone over my head, but if it works, I'm thankful for it. So then what's the third prong of the attack? Ah, yes, the third prong. This is the one I'm most proud of. I feel like this might be the thing that really sets up to take the lead. The rear attack. The rear attack? Yeah, the rear attack. It's pretty simple. All I've been doing is putting a bunch of campaign posters and flyers for governors All I've been doing is putting up a bunch of campaign posters and flyers for Governor Aisha's campaign. Governor Aisha's campaign? But what? Why? Because people need to hear the word. Bark Underwood stands firm in the ruling of Milia versus the state. He's gone on record supporting how the case was settled. Can you really trust him to handle similar decisions in the future? But I do. Obviously that was settled correctly. Exactly. Which gets people thinking, does Aisha not support that ruling? I don't. See, describing them as pro-Aisha posters aren't really doing them justice. They're more accurately to be described as anti-Buck propaganda. Carefully distributed anti-Buck propaganda, mind you. Some pamphlets distributed near Duet Turf talk about how you've expressed pro-Duet sympathies. Posters on the street leading to the Olympo building advertise how you are unqualified, a mere ex-Olympo employee. Propaganda all through the streets questioning your qualifications. Are you even born in Panthea? Your parentage seems questionable. Hey, what the fuck? That's way over the line. Exactly. What the hell is the Aisha campaign thinking? Do they really need to stoop to hateful rhetoric like this? Is this even legal? Hey, none of this propaganda is billed as officially endorsed by Aisha. As far as anybody else is concerned, this is the work of Aisha fans. But the thing is, like it or not, your fans are inevitably going to reflect right back on you. And if Aisha goes out to publicly criticize these propaganda posters, she might be losing the approval of the people who actually like these posters. There isn't a clean way for her to get around it. However you slice it, she's going to get some mud on her thanks to this tactic. It prevents her from staying on the defensive. And that's what we're counting on. But clearly it's something you wanted to say. Something on your mind? That last strategy seems a little, I don't know, amoral? You think? Buck, I was never much of a Bible scholar, but I'm pretty sure lying is bad in pretty much every creed. And you could argue about what it technically is. But let's not bullshit, it's definitely a type of lying. Yeah, right. That's not a problem for you? Buck, buddy, seriously? You remember how we met, right? In case you forgot, I still have a truly horrific photo of you stored on my phone. Let me rephrase. It's a problem for me. Oh, well, lucky you, that's what I'm here for. But you're doing it on my behalf. Correction, I'm doing it on my behalf. I just don't want to play dirty. Yeah, you and every other schmuck who runs for office. That's why you guys lose. That's exactly the reason. Tell me, do you really think Governor Aisha has moral qualms about how she decides to run her campaign? You think she's above the tactics I'm employing? Well, I mean, I haven't seen any evidence on the front one way or the other. Oh, come off it, Buck, you're wiser than that. She keeps her power by sinking her poisoned fangs into any dumbass that tries to oppose her. Anyone who has their ear remotely close to the ground can tell that much. She's a serpent, and that's exactly why you need me. The only way to win this damn thing is deciding to play on her level. Need a snake to wrestle a snake. Do snakes wrestle? They do when they fuck, don't they? And big balls. Don't know, but if they don't, somebody should make them. I bet there's good money in that idea. I'd pay for it. We're off topic again. My point, plain and simple, is that if you want a chance at winning, you can't pull your punches. You gotta use all the tools available to you. And me and my amoral methods are the biggest tool you got. Yeah, you're right. I don't love the idea, but you're right. This election can't be won with fair means. If that's what you think is for the best, then we'll do it. Awesome. I knew you'd see the light. That phrase doesn't feel appropriate given the context. You sure get hung up on improper metaphors, don't you? Well, I was an English major. Ah, and now you live in a shithole apartment like this. Makes sense. Now that's just a cheap shot. Yeah, I'm not above cheap shots. I figured that much. Okay, moving on. I want to keep pushing your campaign forwards, but to do that, I'm going to need to know a bit more. A bit more about what? About you. Me? What for? Look, I've looked into your politics and speeches and the like, but that's the only going to get us so far. For better or worse, humans are emotional creatures. We resonate more with stories. I want to hear yours. My story? Your background, your history, your personal motives. I just want to get a bit better feeling for who you are as a person. It'll help with my campaign strategy. Well, I mean, sure, I guess. Ask away. Awesome. Let's just start from the beginning. Where were you born? What was super early life like? I don't think it's particularly interesting, but sure. I was born in Staggerbluff. I spent my very early years there. I was only a child. I was an only child. I don't have any interesting stories from that time in my life. I barely remember Stagbluff, honestly. I have more memories from my few trips back there, and any memories from when I legitimately lived there. Sometime in elementary school, my dad had to move to Panthea for business-related reasons. So just like that, we moved here. We were never particularly well-off family, middle class at the best of times. Needless to say, we weren't living it up in the nice part of Panthea. But still, I really like Panthea. Despite everything that's happened since then, the city's core really hasn't changed over the years. It's not a flawless core, has scratches and the like, but it's a genuine one, a shining one. There's a lot of people and so many different types. There are close-knit communities all across the city, so many different things to see, places to visit. Not even a particularly large city, it's just dense. And Pantheans, you know, we're not the nicest bunch. We have our differences, but they can also band together in some pretty spectacular ways. I don't know. Maybe it's worthless sentimentality. Undoubtedly, I'm biased since I was from Stagbluff. Compare that place to Panthea, and it looks like a complete ghost town. I definitely appreciate the change of scenery. I live in a ghost town. I like ghost towns. What's wrong with ghost towns? You got a problem with ghosts? Okay, cool. You moved to Panthea at an early age and appreciated its beauty. You're a big fan. So let's move on the timeline a bit more. What's next? What's adult life like? Again, nothing particularly special. Leaving college, I had some big ideas about what I wanted to be. Ideas about really making a mark, changing things. They didn't particularly pan out. Life's not fair. Not often fun. It's just a lesson you eventually learn. My story is perhaps relatable to a lot of people who never left Panthea. I started working at Olimpo because it was a job that I could get. It was never my passion, never what I pictured as my end goal. I always thought of it more as a stopgap, you know? Help pay for some bills, give me more experience. I'd swing from that to something else. I don't know. I didn't really have a hard plan, that was the rub, I guess. Life doesn't give you clean points to stop and plan things out, it just goes. It's very easy to get lost in the flow if you're not mindful, so I stayed at Olimpo for much longer than I expected. Moved up in the ranks because I was decently talented. Before I knew it, I got a decently paying job. It paid well enough. I knew how to do it. It was easy. It was safe. I just fell into a groove, you know? And that was that. Have any hobbies? What's that? People like to relate over shared hobbies. You probably had some spare time to yourself, right? I mean, no family, no obligations, definite spare time. So how'd you spend it? Oh, well, you know more than me. Nahoy's Nest and all. Sure, but I was wondering if there was anything else you did with your free time. Nope, can't really think of anything in particular. Really? Just drinking and light gambling. Oh, well, I watched TV and read some books, but that's kind of it. Huh. Okay. So then you're an office drone working day in, day out. Suddenly you decide to run for office. Why? What changed? Why now? Why uproot your life like that? Bark was deep in thought. You okay? Yeah, just getting my thoughts in order. Give me a moment. Sure, take all the time you need. As I said, I gave Bark another beat. It's hard to say. I guess I was just tired of the way things were going. Like I said, I always thought I wanted to be important. To do something. to make an impact. And it was becoming painfully clear that nothing I was doing was making any real difference. It was easy to not see that, to delude myself elsewise. But one night, I left the bar a little drunk, and I was stumbling out. I kind of walked right up the road, and a car zoomed right past my face. Had I stumbled a few more steps, he would have run me over, and that would have been curtains. Game over. That night, the encounter played in my head over and over. What would have happened if I did die there and then? What would be my legacy? And I don't know, it's not like I made up my mind right there and then. You don't really come to big decisions that quickly, not really. But if you'd had to ask me, I'd say that was the seed. A seed that wriggled and combined with other events I was reading about until eventually the idea to run for governor was truly born. Like I said, I don't actually hate Governor Aja. I don't think she's doing all that bad of a job. But she's not... I don't know, maybe this is pedantic to say, but I'm not sure that she's doing things fast enough. I think that's because she's more concerned with not rocking the boat, with personal reputation. Because of that, she slowly moves towards a better Panthea, but I don't think moving slowly is going to work. For every step of progress you make, the city will just take another step back. The duets have been around for decades. That's not going to change unless you actively make swings at them. There have been legal loopholes just sitting around that have been out in the open for years now. To really change, you need to be a wrecking ball, and not concerned about political gain or optics, and Aja doesn't have it in her. And I don't think we really have the same vision for Panthea. Aja seems to favour Olimpo. She wants them to become this behemoth, this titan of industry. And she wants to help smaller jobs too, sure, but if you create a $1 trillion company in your city, that's a big accomplishment. That's a lot of leverage. That gives you power on a national scale, international scale even. I think Aja almost sees Olimpo as the main facet of Panthea, as a part of Panthea's DNA. She wouldn't be opposed if most everything commercial here is some offshoot of the Olimpo brand, and I don't know if I agree with that mindset. There is strength in centralization, sure. Trust me, as a higher up of Olimpo, I could tell you that for days. You get efficiency, you get order, you get single-minded focus. But to me, Panthea's real strength has always been its diversity. We're home to so many different types of people, points of view. There are tons of aspiring artists, or promising young entrepreneurs, or simple good-working citizens, all who have value. When I moved to Panthea, there were too many restaurants to even count. Everyone brought their own distinct flavour, their special spark. They weren't all good, hell no, but they were all worthwhile. Nowadays at least half of those restaurants here are Olimpo owned, and it feels like the other half is soon to follow. My ideal Panthea would have security, and stability, and prosperity, sure, all those things that Aja wants, but would also focus on creativity and freedom. It would be a place where people could choose to do what they wanted to do, try to spread their wings and either plummet or soar based on their own merit. A freedom that actually favours the little guy, a careful freedom measured by the government. Not the freedom Aja now totes, a wild freedom that favours the strongest, that favours Olimpo. For a singular moment I saw it. I saw the appeal Buck brought as a candidate. It was obscured by a dozen other things, but beneath the surface Buck was a strong idealist, and a decent speaker. It was certainly an uphill battle, Lord knows it was uphill, but he really had potential for this. Fantastic. Truly great stuff, Buck, absolutely loved it. This is what I need to work my magic. Thanks for sharing. No problem. Just sort of talked about myself. That's all you need to do. Pro tip, open yourself up more like that going forward. People love it. I'll try to, I guess. Don't know if it'll make a difference. Oh, sure it will. Tell me, honestly speaking, how are we looking in the election? Yeah, you've had a whole three-prong thing, and that's a setup or whatever, but right now, what are our odds? You know, dwelling on the negatives isn't good for the soul. Lock. Maybe 5% we win? Buck side. Which, mind you, about a 1 in 20 shot. That can happen. It can happen. Right, things are still slightly better if I'd put all my life savings on a single number in roulette. Except wait, if I win, I don't even get 36 times my winning back. Huh. Hey, buddy. Chin up. Why? You said it yourself, we won't win without swings. Well, we don't have swings to take. Stick a fork in me, I'm done. You should just pack your bags and spend your time on a more fruitful prospect. You know, right now I feel like slapping you to bring you to your senses. Now, I'm not going to do that because it's probably a little extreme and uncalled for, but I'm just verbalizing that to show where I'm at right now. I already said we're in this together, so quit with the woe is me crap and help me think for a bit, would you? Locke, if you could come up with some way to win this election, I'd have done it by now. Yeah, well, before you didn't have me. With our brains combined, we can come up with an earth-shattering new strategy that will define Panthea election meta for years to come. Buck seemed little less than enthused, but I trudged on forwards. Here's the problem, and I'm going to loop back to an old metaphor like this. Right now in this war, we're a poor country going up against a world superpower. The main reason we've yet to be blown off the map is because said world superpower isn't dedicating all their forces to us. Guerrilla tactics are useful, sure, but they're not going to win, not really. That's not exact. Guerrilla tactics don't work when they're going on the attack, okay? Right now we're the invaders. Don't. I fucking saw you open your mouth, just let the metaphor play. Now, as I was saying, we're only going to have a real shot at winning this if we get some high-grade weaponry of our own, a nuclear bomb of sorts. And to acquire that, we need a ton of cash. Quick. You really could have just led with that. I'm an artist, I like painting pictures. Sue me. Look, I agree. If we had a fraction of Aja's funding, we could capitalize on all the groundwork you've been putting out. The problem is we don't. We had a chance with your idea to scam Polly, but that went south. And it's not like we're going to be able to do the same thing twice. Bark was absolutely right. The Dysmans were now a dry well, and there weren't going to be any other uber-rich families with exposed weak points. To get a huge score, it'd probably take a carefully crafted plan. A plan I didn't have time to create, while with the election looming so close. Shit. There's really no way around it. We just need money. Money truly runs the world. If we want to take down Aja, we need a ton of money. It's the only way. The only path is money. Or a scandal. Or a... What? Or a scandal. Or... a scandal. You're starting to freak me out a bit, Locke. Buck, you're so right. You're so right. If something huge got out about Aja, she couldn't just make it go away with the snap of her fingers. It would really give you an opening, huh? Yeah, but I mean, come on. Aja's been very smart about this stuff. She has a carefully crafted life built to avoid scandal. We don't have anything on her. I mean, there isn't anything to have on her. Is that right? I scan my mind. Focus, focus, focus. Think about everything I know about Panthea at this point. All its quirks. Is there anything at all that might lead to a weakness of Aja? I turn through it all in my head, and eventually, I might have something. Huh? The assassin. The key is the assassin. What do you mean? I thought you said the assassin could be after you for any sort of reason. No, that's wrong. I said that out of ignorance. Thinking about it carefully, nobody from past cities I've visited possibly knows where I am. I made sure of that. I can say that with 100% certainty. And they were definitely after me for a strong reason. They didn't fucking take the suitcase bait. It had to be an assassin directly after me. Okay, and? Who would want me dead? Enough to send an assassin after me. Who hates Locke with that burning a passion? Now you took it in the third person, that's fun. My Dysmacon failed, so they had no reason to go after me. Plus, the assassin came right after the night at the casino. But that's not enough time to hire an assassin in the best of circumstances. And you know this, but since I've gotten here, I haven't really done that much. Low-rate gambles at worst. No, there's exactly one thing of substance I've done that could make me the target of an assassination. And that's become your campaign manager. Seriously? I mean, I know I sort of suggested it earlier, but would Governor Aja really... I don't know, it just seems a little extreme, doesn't it? Assassinating some random campaign manager? Why not me? Because if her political rival got gunned down, it's a story. If a no-name con man does, it's a non-entity. Depending on how good her info network is, she could have known that I was making moves against her. While she knows she can deal with me, she recognizes a snake when she sees a snake. She recognizes a threat when she sees the threat. Takes one to know one and all. Aware that I could come after her in ways that are unorthodox and dangerous, especially if she does have legitimate things to hide, she wanted to wipe out me out of the picture very early on. Hence, assassination attempt. Okay then. So what? So what? A governor is sending assassins, and your response is, so what? Look, no doubt the story is unbelievable, Locke. Definitely unbelievable. But assuming it's true, what does that do for us? The best we have is your half measure of a story. That's nothing. That's less than nothing. That's not a scandal, it's a half-baked theory. Right. On its own doesn't mean anything. But the key is Aja has a man like that in the first place. Because of that, we can make some assumptions how she'll react to given scenarios. The key is linking her to the mystery man, and then the mystery man to assassination-y things. If we do that, then we have her. And again, how do you intend to do that? I'll leave that to me. First things first, we gotta link Aja to the man. How to go about that? You know, this might be as good a time as ever to put that kid on to some use. You know what? I have someone in mind who could be of help. You do? I let out a little laugh. Better put on your war face, Bark. I'm about to start the real battle. Politics. They exist. That's all I have to say about the subject matter. Fuck people who say that everything is political. I got a shitload to say about that. Everything is political in the same way that everything is art or everything is negotiation. It's just linguistic soup at some point. Maybe I'm just dumb. Big scale things hurt my brain. And I ain't enough room in it to contemplate one big-scale idea, and I've had one in the oven for a while now that's taken up all the space. I prefer human interest stories. I like to get real personal with my friends, for one. Like you're my friend, right? Lady, I don't even understand who I am. I don't even know what that would mean in this context. Well, it seems like you're dealing with some pretty heavy stuff. You know what you need in times of crisis? A friend. Do I? You do. You do. Geez, you don't even know that, bestie? Talk about awkward. You know who else I like? Buck. Buck's fun. A real punching bag. We all need punching bags in our lives. I wish I ran into more Bucks. I run into precious few as it is. So yeah, Buck's great. Just wish you didn't have to keep that deep dark secret. Wait, what secret? Oh, you don't know? Buck totally has some super dark secret. I mean, I don't know it, but like, it's obvious, right? He's too, I don't know. He's just not got anything going on. Clearly there's some big twist with him. He's a 40-year-old virgin. Is that it? He likes to play the trombone. I don't fucking know. He's secretly going to be working for a satanic cult or something. You can just tell, right? In fact, I'm so confident about this, I'm going to make it a bet. Go on, claim some free chips. Bet on the fact that Buck is hiding a deep secret from Locke. It's so obvious. He's got secret haver written all over his face. And think about it. I'm making a bet. A bet that has to be checked at some point. Like, clearly when that secret is revealed. What would the alternative be? Like, how do you reveal the fact that he doesn't have a secret? What would that look like? Hempel's Raven it? Seems awful complicated. No, this is free chips. So go on, bet. Does Buck have a deep, important secret that he's hiding from Locke? No. Seriously? You hate money. Geez, okay, your choice. But bet low. What are you betting? 5, like always. Alrighty then. That's all I had. On to other scenes. No new keys. Do we have a lock? We do not have a lock on Locke. We do not have a lock on Locke, so we're going to continue Locke in the next episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.